If you've been dreaming of buying a home, a car, obtaining a line of credit, or reducing your high interest rate loans, then you'll know improving your credit score is imperative to qualifying and or getting the best interest rate possible. Now, you could go it alone or you could get help from a professional. In the next 20 minutes, you're going to learn about a company called United Credit Education Services. And you'll learn if credit repair, or what we like to call credit restoration, is right for you. United Credit Education Services has been in business since 2004. They have an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, and they're accredited by the National Association of Credit Services Organizations. Very few companies in our industry have those credentials, and they serve all 50 states, and we provide the fastest, most effective credit restoration service allowed by law. And you're going to learn more in this video as to why we say that. You're also going to learn about the negative accounts that might be appearing on your credit report, lowering your credit score, and the probability of removing those items through the credit restoration process. We're going to explain in detail what is the credit restoration process, and we're going to share with you other services that we have to help you improve and protect your credit score moving forward. Our goal at United Credit Education Services is and always has been to raise your credit score as high as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, the first thing to know is that there's three general types of items that may be appearing on your credit report as negative items. The first are inaccurate or erroneous items. Now, these are items that are not listed correctly. They're not your item. They potentially belong to somebody else. Maybe these are items that are included in a bankruptcy but are listed outside the bankruptcy. Possibly you've been a victim of identity theft and you've got items appearing on your credit report that are a result of your identity theft. Or you've got people's information on your credit report that maybe have a similar name or the same name but a different social security number. Those items need to be removed as well. Then you've got obsolete items. These are items that are older than 7 years from the date of the last activity or older than 10 years in the case of a bankruptcy. Understand, when an item is older than 7 years from the date of the last activity, whether or not it's paid, it must be removed from your credit report. We're going to look and make sure that those items do get removed for you. Then we've got a very large category called unverifiable items. These are items that are not in the first two categories. In other words, they're not inaccurate. They're not obsolete. They really did occur, and they really did occur within the last 7 years. But these are items that also can be removed because the creditor, by federal law, has to verify the accuracy of what they've previously placed on your credit report. So in some cases, the creditor doesn't have the proper information to be able to do that. In some cases, the creditor doesn't exist any longer. Or in some cases, the creditor does not or chooses not to verify the information on your credit report. In that case, that item has to be removed. Now, how do we go about doing this? How do we get erroneous, obsolete, and unverifiable items removed from a consumer credit report? It's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It's a federal law outlining the process for doing so, the dispute process. So here's how we go about the dispute process to help you get these negative items removed from your credit report. First of all, we're going to identify the derogatory or negative accounts on your credit reports from all three major credit bureaus: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Next, we're going to draft dispute letters using appropriate legal language and dispute codes, and first of all, send them to you for signature. You're going to review those letters, sign them, attach proof of identity showing that you are who you say you are, and then forward to each of those three credit bureaus: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Once the credit bureaus receive these letters, they must now contact your creditors, and this is where your creditors must validate the accuracy of what they've previously reported on your credit report. And understand, this is the key. Your creditors have 30 days to reply and verify the account. If they cannot, or they choose not to verify the accuracy of what they've previously placed on your credit report, that item must be deleted from your credit report according to federal law. At that point, it doesn't matter what you owe or if you owe money on that account at all. If they do not verify the accuracy of what they've previously placed on your credit report within 30 days, the item must be removed. And after that 30-day period of time, once the credit bureaus have heard back from your creditors or not, you're going to receive updates on the results directly from the credit bureaus. This entire process takes approximately 45 days. Now, understand, we may need to dispute some items more than once. So in other words, what if a creditor does verify the accuracy on that first round, in that first 45 days? We're going to take the next step and dispute it again, maybe a third time, to get that creditor to respond to all three credit bureaus again. And we find when we do dispute it a second or third time, a lot of times the creditors won't respond then, and it gets removed from your credit report. Most of our clients see results in 45 days during that first round of disputes that we just talked about. But to get maximum results, we may have to dispute the item more than once, so our average client is on service with us 4 to 6 months. Now here's where we're going to talk about the types of derogatory items. So you can think what kind of items maybe you have on your credit report, negative items that might be bringing your score down. Identify what type of item they are based on the information we're about to give you. And then over on the right-hand side, you'll see the probability that the credit restoration or credit repair process will get that item removed for you. Let's first of all talk about late payments. Is the account still open and being reported to the credit bureaus each month? If the answer is yes, then it's not going to get removed. Why? Because your creditor is still reporting to the credit bureaus every 30 days. However, it may be updated to reflect paid as agreed, which is a very positive thing. If the answer is no, the account isn't open any longer, it's not being reported to the credit bureaus each month, the probability then depends on the date the account was closed. The older, the better chance of the creditor not responding to the credit bureaus and therefore getting that item removed. Charged off and closed accounts. Now these are accounts that are usually in the collection status at this particular point. Credit card accounts are most common in this category. The older the account, again, the higher the chance for removal. 1 year or less, it has a lower probability, but still the possibility of getting that item removed. 1 to 4 years, the probability goes up, but it's going to depend on the creditor. In other words, whether that creditor typically responds to disputes or not. 5 to 7 years, you have a much higher probability that that creditor will not respond, and therefore we can get that item removed. Medical bills. Now, the older the account in general, the higher the probability. That's a common theme that you're going to hear throughout this information. But with medical bills, it's generally a higher probability to get removed, as medical collection companies tend not to respond to the credit bureaus with regard to these disputes. Judgments. It's pretty simple to understand whether a judgment can get removed or not. The question is the judgment satisfied? Has it been paid and is it satisfied? If the answer is no, then it's a lower probability to get removed. If the answer is yes, the probability goes way up that the court will not respond to the dispute, and therefore we can get that item removed. Tax liens, it's much the same thing. Is the lien satisfied? If the answer is no, it's a lower probability. If the answer is yes, a much higher probability we can get that item removed. Student loans. Now, generally speaking, because student loans are backed by the federal government, overall they have a low probability of getting removed. But we're going to dispute student loans anyway, because there always is a possibility that the company that's servicing the student loan will not respond to the dispute, and therefore we could get it off. But generally speaking, a lower probability here. Repossessions. Now, repossessions, especially when you're talking about repossessions of an automobile, they're highly dependent upon the creditor and the age of the account. If we're talking about a tier 1 creditor, something like a Honda Finance, then maybe a lower probability. A secondary type of lender, a much higher probability. And of course, the older the account, even with a tier 1 creditor, the higher the probability. Bankruptcies are largely dependent upon the discharge date. If it's a fairly recent bankruptcy within 1 to 3 years, again, a lower probability, but still possible. As the age increases, 4 to 7 years, a much higher probability, and certainly 8 to 10 years, the highest probability. Now, one note about bankruptcies. If you have a bankruptcy on your credit report, when it was filed, all the individual items, the debt that you had was included in that bankruptcy and showing on that court record. Well, now on your credit report, those items need to say included in a bankruptcy so that they're all included and lumped into one. However, in many cases, they're not. They're listed individually. It's kind of like having a double negative. You've got the bankruptcy sitting there, and then you've got all these individual items. Well, what we're going to do is we're either going to get those individual items removed, or we're going to get them to reflect included in the bankruptcy, and that's going to help increase your credit score right there. Then, of course, we've got foreclosures and short sales, and these are highly dependent upon the lender or the loan servicer. They're also highly dependent upon the time since the foreclosure or short sale, and of course that recurring theme, the older, the higher the probability of getting it removed. Child support judgments, much like judgments in general or tax liens, is it satisfied? If the answer is no, it's a lower probability. And then evictions. Some people come to us with evictions. This is highly dependent upon the landlord or the property management company. If we're talking about an individual landlord or a small property management company, a very high probability. A large property management company lowers the probability because they may, generally speaking, respond to disputes like this. And of course, it's also dependent upon the time since the eviction was put on your report. Once again, the older, the better. With regard to this type of item, in other words, items that really did occur within the last 7 years, there's no guarantee that an item is going to get removed. Why? Because the creditor always has that right to respond to the dispute to keep that item on your credit report. However, there's no item that couldn't potentially be removed as well because the creditor may not respond. And again, if you're talking about the length of time, the type of account, who the creditor is, the possibility goes either up or down depending on that factor. Because once again, it's all dependent upon whether that creditor responds to the credit bureaus within the 30-day time frame. Now, there's two very common questions. The first one is, how long will it take? Well, first of all, please note, we dispute all your negative items on all 3 credit bureaus immediately, providing you the fastest possible results allowed by law. Now, the reason why we point that out is because many companies in our industry don't do that. In other words, they don't dispute all your items immediately. They purposely slow the process down. And the only logic that we could think of behind doing that is that they just want you to pay more monthly fees. We don't do business that way. Our goal is to get you the highest credit score we possibly can as quickly as we can. And as I mentioned before, most clients see positive results within 45 days. However, to get maximum results, our average client is on service with us 4 to 6 months. The other question most people ask is, how much will my credit score increase? Well, understand, removing negative items certainly will increase your credit score, but how much is dependent upon many factors. One of those factors is the amount of debt you owe compared to your credit limit. If you owe a lot of debt compared to your limit, your credit score is not going to go up as high. But if you keep the amount of debt low compared to your limit on your credit cards and other types of accounts, your credit score is going to go up more. It's also dependent upon the length of your credit history. If you have a long positive credit history with your other accounts, you're going to see a higher increase in your credit score. It's dependent on how many new accounts that you have. If you are continually adding new credit in a timely manner, that's going to help your credit score. And it also depends on the types of credit you have. Do you have a mortgage? Do you have revolving credit? Do you have a car payment? Those kinds of things. Do you have a good mix of credit? If you do, that's going to help increase your credit score as well as we remove these negative items. But what we find is people with a lower credit score typically not only need help removing negative items, which we do through our credit repair or credit restoration process, but they also need help to build more positive credit listings on their credit reports to get a maximum boost in their credit score. And here's what a lot of people don't understand. Credit repair, or again, what we call credit restoration, removal of those negative items, that only helps 35% of your credit score. In other words, your payment history. What about the other 65%? Other companies have no other services to help their clients increase their overall 100% of their credit score. We provide services at no extra charge to help you build the highest credit score possible. And we do that through the United Credit Education Services, or UCES Protection Plan. When you become a UCES Protection Plan member, you are going to get a portal just like this, and I'm going to share with you some of the other services that we provide you inside the portal. And you're going to be able to track and monitor the progress of your credit restoration service. You'll see the items that we're working on for you, and you'll see exactly when we get those items deleted. And again, follow along on the progress of everything that's happening, including the increase of your credit score. So in addition to credit restoration, we do have these other services. First of all, Credit Builder. Credit Builder is going to educate you on how to increase 100% of your credit score. It's going to give you recommendations on what you could do to help increase your credit score while we are removing these negative items, but also educate you on how to maintain and increase that credit score for the rest of your life. We also have a monthly budgeting tool. Now, budgeting is so very important because one of the big reasons why people have a lower credit score is because they don't follow a budget, and they have sometimes some emergency expenses that happen in a month, and therefore some of their monthly bills have to go unpaid, which shows up as a late payment on their credit report, thus lowering their credit score. So we've got an online monthly budgeting tool that's going to help you prevent that. You're going to be able to put a little bit of money aside each month so that when an emergency expense happens, you're going to be able to take care of that and not affect the rest of your bills, not have any late payments. So monthly budgeting, very, very important. We also have something called Debt Zero. It provides you with a get out of debt report showing you how to take the same amount of money that you're currently using every month, but pay down that debt, especially those high interest rate credit cards or other payments that you're making. Get those paid down so that you could get out of debt quicker and start saving money faster. We provide you with credit attorneys. Now, not all the time does our client need a credit attorney because of our credit restoration service, but sometimes the credit bureaus don't remove something that by law needs to be removed. So the credit attorneys will step in and work with the credit bureaus to make them understand they do need to remove that particular item. But they also help with debt collectors that might be harassing our clients. So they will step in and put a stop to that, and they will sue these debt collectors for money damages if necessary as well. In addition, we provide you with a savings goal tool, a net worth calculator, and something that's extremely valuable, a last will and living trust. 90% of people out there don't have a will and living trust, and of course everybody needs that, especially if you have children. We provide that as part of the UCES protection plan. So those are the services that we provide you to help you build not just 35% of your credit score, but 100% of your credit score. In addition, however, we also are going to provide you with identity monitoring and identity theft protection, because as you increase your credit score, you become a bigger target for identity thieves, and we are going to prevent that from happening with our identity monitoring and our identity theft protection program. And you're going to get online credit monitoring, real-time online credit monitoring that you can log into 24/7, get your accurate credit score, and see your items with all three credit bureaus. We also provide you with customer support, both in English and Spanish, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, most companies just provide the credit repair service. They don't provide you with all these services to help you build 100% of your credit score. They don't provide you with identity theft protection or online credit monitoring, and they charge in the neighborhood of $100 to $125 a month. We provide you with all these services in the UCES protection plan for a one-time activation fee of $99 and only $89 a month. There is a tremendous amount of value that we provide you in the UCES protection plan. Now, for certain individuals, we offer a couple of programs that could help them increase their credit score as well. The first one is called Credit My Rent. This is a great program where we can take on-time rental history of a home or an apartment going back up to 2 years and put it on your TransUnion credit report to increase your score immediately there. We start this program for as little as $6.95 a month. And then for people that are trying to build positive credit as well, we have our first Progress Secured MasterCard. There's no credit history or minimum credit score required for approval for this credit card, and it reports to all three credit agencies. Both of these programs will help improve payment history, types of credit, the length of your credit history, and new credit. 4 out of the 5 categories to help you build that 100% of your credit score. Now that you know a little bit about our company, United Credit Education Services, you know more about the credit repair process and the types of items that can be removed, the probability that they might be removed. What are your options moving forward? Well, first of all, you could do nothing right now, but please understand your credit's not going to fix itself. Just letting it sit there and letting time go by won't necessarily help you increase your credit score. And one other thing, paying off old debts does not necessarily remove it from your credit report. It's going to stay there with a zero balance, but still reflect in the negative column because you were delinquent on that account at one time. You're still going to need to take action. You're still going to need to go through the credit repair or credit restoration process to remove it. Another option is you could do it yourself. It's very time consuming. You have to learn how to do it. And also understand the internet is not your friend. There's a lot of people on the internet that want to teach you how to do their hacks and tricks and do it for free. But you have to learn all that, and those may not be appropriate for your specific situation. You also must be willing to continually repeat the process for 6 months or up to a year. You'll not have the other services that we offer to maximize the increase in your credit score, and you're not going to certainly have the support of our experts. So if you want to work with a professional, if you want to work with a company that's been doing it since 2004, is rated very, very highly, in fact, the highest possible by the Better Business Bureau, certified in a national level, and gets the job done for their customers, then get in contact with your UCES agent and let them know you want to get started today. We look forward to working with you as a UCES client to help you build your credit score today and for your future.